Hey, welcome back. We're on a countdown to the election now, just days before this major national election that is right now looking to be almost too close to call. Interesting, today I saw that endorsements came out from several major newspapers. Salt Lake City obviously would be Romney territory. He's a Mormon. He saved the Olympics out there some years back. Huge ties out in Salt Lake. The Salt Lake Tribune, the largest paper in Utah, endorses Barack Obama. On the other hand, you go to Iowa, the Des Moines Register in Iowa being more a Democratic-leaning state, you would think would be endorsing Obama. No, they endorsed Mitt Romney. So it just shows the chemistry in this whole election process and how close this election is becoming. National polls show it almost too close to call. In fact, most polls at this moment, as we're broadcasting here now, shows that Mitt Romney, the Republican candidate, is slightly leading in most national polls. However, in the 7 or 8 swing states that really are going to decide this election in the Electoral College, you got the president leading. So what you have the possibility of, and a number of consultants are saying this is a 50-50 chance this is going to happen, you could have Romney win the national vote, an overwhelming majority, or just a majority of the national vote, and yet Barack Obama could win the Electoral College and be reelected as president. Mark McKinnon, a national consultant who I know, respect, says I think it's a 50-50 possibility or more that this could happen. And other people projecting that say the very same thing. You've never had a case where the incumbent president lost the overall number of voters but still won in the Electoral College. Now, you recall going back to 2000. It happened when you had Al Gore, who was the vice president, running against George Bush. Gore wins the national vote by 400,000 or 500,000 votes, but Bush wins the Electoral College. And maybe you don't think that's fair, but that's the system. There's a lot of interest in changing the Electoral College. I saw figures over the weekend showing that 73% of Democrats want to change the process and let the winner be determined by the popular vote. And interesting enough, 53% of Republicans want that to happen. There's going to be a lot more Republicans want that to happen if the president is reelected through the Electoral College, but Romney wins the national vote. Now, here's the murky area you come into. And by the way, the Electoral College is outdated, put together back by our founders when it took weeks in many instances to even travel to the nation's capital, where there was not the kind of communication you have today. And so they built this archaic system out. But it's been there for several hundred years. Now, here's the quagmire you have. If you try to change the Electoral College, and it takes a 2/3 vote of legislatures all over the country to do this, what about the U.S. Senate? You see, the U.S. Senate is done in the same way with the balance of the Electoral College. Every state is guaranteed 2 U.S. senators. So you have a state like California that's 5 or 6 times larger than my home state of Louisiana, yet they get 2 senators. We get 2 senators. Is there going to be an effort to determine the makeup of the Senate by a popular vote? I don't think the majority of states would want that. They want the 2 senators. But, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What happens in one area is good for all the other areas out that way. So it's going to be going down to the wire. Boy, isn't it going to be a barn burner election night? I'll be broadcasting here. I'll be on a number of stations, serving as a commentator on television and radio stations throughout the country, and we'll be here all of election night. But right now, if you look at the polls, Romney slightly leading on the national popular vote, Obama slightly leading on the key 7 or 8 electorals of the states that could make the Electoral College difference, and we could see real controversy. Here's another thing. Absentee votes. You see, you have servicemen and women. You have those outside the country working who absentee vote, and a number of states allow those votes to be cast 2 or 3 weeks up until after the election. In other words, if your vote is postmarked before Election Day but doesn't arrive because of the mail 2 weeks later, it still gets counted. What if one of the candidates has a 200-vote margin in a particular swing state that makes an Electoral College effect, but there are 1,000 or 2,000 voters out there who voted absentee, and they've not been counted yet? We could sit around here for 3 weeks or a month trying to determine who's going to win this election. So if you're a political groupie and love to watch it, you can't get it more interesting than this. This is the Super Bowl. It is double overtime, and it's coming down to the wire. So we'll have a chance to talk about it one more time on Umnor Show before Election Day is here. Be back right after this message.